be nice. And also, Rajo, thank you so much for talking to David. And David is happy with us about doing this. I knew it was something good. So, well, everybody knew it was good. So let's get started. I have the video ready. I don't know. Are you able to see the presentation?
Yeah, I can see it says present moment awareness.
Okay.
But yeah, David could see that what we're doing is congruent. So it's like and he was very pleased.
Nice,
I was like,
nice.
that's awesome. So keep going. I said, we will.
Yeah, we will. Nice. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna. It's the first time I'm doing this, so I guess if I go here, I'm gonna press this, and here we go.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this. Not wasting more time. We have 10 lessons on present moment awareness.
Oh, wait. I was listening to it in a fast version because
Yeah, sometimes I speed my stuff up too.
yeah,
Me
yeah,
too.
I was doing kind of a homework because he talks about many things. So I wanted to place the little times of the content. Here we go.
10 lessons. Okay, the first lesson is the fundamental truth. There is only eternal now. Number 2 is false self versus true self. Number 3, the egoic mind, to understanding unconscious behavior. Number 4, the silent observer. 5, stepping out of psychological time. It's an illusion. Your simulation's an illusion. It has a lot to do with time, okay? Because the present moment's the only moment that's real. That's what actually solidifies the whole theory, or I don't even think it's a theory anymore, that you're living in a simulation. Time. Pain body, number 6. Number 7, true forgiveness. 8, stilling the mind, exercises. And we have number 9, you never not practice. All right, so number 10, feel the feeling of now. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into lesson number 1. And I'm going to be asking you questions as well through this to try to get you a little bit more involved as we pass through this. The fundamental truth, there is only the eternal now. And this supports that you're living in, that your world's an illusion, it's a simulation. All right, so remember this and pay attention. The most fundamental truth is that there is only the present moment right now. And just to put this in context, have you ever looked like at a clock on your phone or on the wall or your watch or anywhere, and has it ever said a different time than the present moment, than right now? Never. Unless it's unplugged or the battery dies or something. But a clock will never reflect a different time than right now. And that's because that's the only moment that you have power to create and manifest, is right now. And the better that you become at becoming now, living right now, like right now, not, anywhere else with your inner dialogues or anything else, the more effectively and efficiently you can manifest and create things into your world, and the more simply you can put yourself in flow state and become magnetic, simply by not having anything, just being present right now, being fully present, and then manipulating your feelings and your thoughts and your states of consciousness right now. You can create a new version of yourself, reinvent yourself right now, because that's the only moment that's real. And you can create any feeling that you want when you can understand this and master this ability. Something that I really worked on when I was in prison is just being present in meditation and creating feelings, moods, changing inner dialogues right now, like becoming someone different, reinventing yourself now and becoming whoever you want, and living as if you are that person right now, like reinventing yourself. And you really put yourself in a very magnetic frequency when you can be present and you can feel as if everything is working out for you perfectly, and you love you're grateful. You're just like in this the highest frequency of just loving everything about your life, like right now, and not thinking about what you're going to get next, but experiencing that now. And that's something I'm kind of going through now and catching myself, with wanting, thinking about new things I could bring into the channel, new manifestations and da-da-da. But the things I already have are amazing. How far, I'm still going to take it because it's part of the brand. It's part of the coaching. And I want to teach people that they can create anything they want as well by using these methods, but I still have to use it. Even the coach needs some coaching sometimes. All right, so here's a question to ask yourself right here. It happened to me again. It's 9:37 by me in Wisconsin, and it wouldn't let me open it until 9:30 my time. Oh, whoops. Oh, well, you're here now, and it's recorded. So ask yourself this question. Have you ever experienced or done, thought, or felt anything outside of the now? Seriously, ask yourself that question. Do you think you ever will think outside of the now? Think, feel anything outside of the now, or ever felt anything outside of the now? All right, so it is possible for anything to happen or be out. Is there anything that is possible or that can happen to you outside of the now? Can anything happen to you besides outside of right now? Nothing. Everything is right now. There is nothing. The past doesn't matter. Stop worrying. Let all that stuff go. Fear of the future, fear of what may happen, what may not happen, all those different things of the past generally is what hinders people because they think the past is real. It's not real. It was only real when it was present. And that was it. But it's over now. That's done. It's over. You're now present, and now you have the opportunities to create anything you want now. But your feeling states are created based on everything that you feel is real. So if you still feel that all those things that happened to you in the past are real, even though they're not, it's not real. That determines your state of consciousness now. And when you can release all of that and understand that the only moment that's real is now, that you can create now, you can let all that stuff go. And understanding this can free up, instead of, this can actually help just as much as revision can help. Simply by understanding this knowledge and becoming very present and understanding the now, present moment awareness. All right. This can really make huge changes in your current reality and your future, even though the future isn't real either. It's only now. So stop waiting. Stop waiting. All right. So the answer is no. Okay. There is nothing outside of the now. The answer to that is all no. The present moment, here we go. The present moment is all we ever experience. Even when we think about the past or the future, we do that right now. Even when you think about the past, things that have happened to you, you think about what may happen in the future. All those things all those times that you think about the past or think about the future, you're doing it right now. Everything is now. Everything you do is now. Everything that's created is from now. All right. More questions. Oh, no, that's not a question. All right, statement. What you think of as the past is a memory trace. Excuse me. Excuse me. Let me start over. What you think of as the past is a memory trace stored in the mind of a former now. When you remember the past, you reactivate a memory trace, and you do so right now. You reactivate this, okay? When you think about something in the past that you didn't like or was a traumatic event or something that happened to you, you reactivate that memory trace into the now. And then it becomes alive in you now. That's the only reason that it can become alive now is your reactivation of that, thinking that that was real, that happened to you. It's only real when it was present, when you were presently experiencing that, but it's not real anymore. And you only reactivate those things and recreate those things. A better word for that would be you recreate those things when you go back. When you remember the past, you recreate those things. So what part of your past are you remembering? Because you can recreate good things from the past depending on your perceptions and your feeling states of the things that happened to you. That changes the present moment and your feeling states and your states of consciousness right now. So the future is an imagined now. It's not now. It's a projection of the mind that the imagination is creating. Your future. The future is an imagined now. It's a projection of the mind. Nothing is contained outside of your own mind. No material objects, a Lamborghini Urus, a Raptor R, a Mercedes G-Wagon, none of that stuff is contained outside of your mind. It's not real. It's contained within your own mind. And there's other parts of you that are creating these things from your imagination. So, when the future becomes now, it comes as the now. When you think about the future, you do it now. So what does that tell you about the law of assumption? Because this is Eckhart Tolle. He was a master at present moment awareness. Very successful. Very successful. When the future comes, it comes as the now. The future isn't really real until it becomes the now, okay? So when you think about the future, you think of the future, you think from the future, you do it right now. And that's how you shock the positron, the positive running electron. When you master present moment awareness and can create and think from an event in the future and make it now, because that's the only moment that's real. Because when you're thinking of something, it's not real. It's in the future sometime, and you're thinking it's at a distance from you. It's not real. Present moment awareness, mastering this ability, is mastering manifestation. When you think about the future, you do it now. All right, so therefore the past and future have no intrinsic reality or substance of their own. When you're thinking of them, all right, when you're thinking of them, they have no intrinsic reality or substance of their own. Their reality is borrowed from the only thing that exists, the eternal now. And this is actually something where it's important to understand when you're doing visualizations. You'll notice there's certain times in your life, certain places you've gone, like your childhood house that you grew up in. You were very present in certain places that you can remember very simply. And when you can remember something more vividly, it's because you were more present and you made it more real when you were there. When it was now. It's not now anymore, so it's not real. But those moments, when you were more present, you'll remember more. And the more present you become every day in the now, right here and now, the longer your life is. You live forever, and that's what the Bible talks about. The Bible talks about that. About how if you believe in God, you have eternal life because you have found present moment awareness and your life is continued and it never stops because you're in the eternal now. So this is why becoming intensely present and anchored in the now is so vitally important. All negativity arises from denial of the now. All negativity arises from the denial of the now. From resistance to what is. When we live absolutely in the now, we have gone beyond the ego. into our essential nature as universal consciousness. Okay, so pay attention to this, because the more present you become and the more that you free yourself from the past and the future of these events, not from them, but of them, you become more connected with God, the universal consciousness, because everything is connected. There's no separation between you or anything or anyone else within your own mind. And as you release the ego in the present moment, you can become connected with your highest self. And that's where true manifestation comes. But a lot of times when you become that present and grateful, you don't desire anything because you have everything. And that's really the secret to it all. But that's what brings all this stuff to you. Sorry about that. But that's what brings all this stuff to you, is when you can go beyond the ego and become very present and be in flow state. You become so magnetic that all this stuff comes to you, but you don't even really need it. You don't really even want it. You know, that's when you're really connected, is when you just have all this stuff just flowing to you. And the reason for that is because you're already in the state of having everything. There's nothing else. Like, you are completely complete. And in that feeling state, you're drawing all this stuff to you. Like, everything is, you're just totally magnetic in that state. That's why present moment awareness is so important to truly grasp and practice on a daily basis. Lesson number 2. Never mind, I just heard you read that post. Sweet, cool. All right, so false self versus true self. Lesson number 2. The more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer. Because you are not your brain. Remember that. You are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are something deeper within that. You are all. You are I am. And sometimes the thoughts can be convoluted, or they can be polluted with the past and the future. And you're so entangled with the past and future, you never live in the now. And that's when the more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer, is because the mind will take you on a roller coaster ride throughout your entire life where you're never present.
Did it freeze?
Yeah, we're kind of spinning there. Huh?
You'll never be present if you let the mind control you completely. You are not your mind. You are in control of your mind. You have the control over your mind to train it. Otherwise, it's going to take you like on a roller coaster ride your entire life based on everything that you consent to being true and everything that's happened to you, that, you know, on all these different beliefs that you have based on, you know, TV shows, movies, what your teachers told you, your parents, you know, all these different things. The false self is the ego. Let me start over. The false self is the ego created identity that we tend to strongly identify with. It is based on our thoughts, emotions, desires, achievements, failures, possessions, relationships, beliefs, and physical appearance. Remember that. The false self is the ego-created identity. The false self. That's not you. It's the ego-created identity that we tend to so strongly identify with. It is based on your thoughts, emotions, desires, achievements, failures, possessions, relationships, beliefs, and physical appearance. Our mind made sense of self. Our mind made self of sense of self. However, none of these are what we truly are. You are I am. Remember that. The term ego means different things to different people, but when I use it here, it means a false self created by unconscious identification with the mind. The ego. The term ego means different things to different people, but when I use it here, Eckhart Tolle, it means a false self created by unconscious identification with the mind. All right, so as Eckhart Tolle explains here, your sense of self, of who you are, is ultimately derived not from your thinking mind, but from a deeper place within. Your sense of self, of who you are, is ultimately derived from your thinking mind, from a deeper place within, from being itself. From being itself. I am. All right? So your very sense of presence of I am does not come from thought. You are not your thoughts. You are not your brain. You come from
It's hung up again.
of being, just
There.
being. It emanates from that deeper place of being, and it is the most fundamental aspect of your existence. Our true self is found in the internal or eternal, timeless realm of the present moment. When we are completely in the now, consciousness without thought, we lose our ego-created sense of identity and connect more deeply with our intrinsic being. So, getting to know thyself in meditation, releasing the ego, becoming more present, because where do all your beliefs and everything you consent to being true of your world come from? From your ego, your false self. Your false self is creating all of these things that happen to you, all the things you don't want to happen to you, are all created from what you consent to being true based on what your mind is doing, your false self with your ego. And when you can release that, one true self is found in the eternal timeless realm of the present moment. When we are completely in the now, consciousness without thought, we lose our ego created sense of identity. We eliminate everything that we consent to being true of our world, and we now can create a new version of ourselves, reinvent ourselves, and connect more deeply with our intrinsic being in the present moment. It isn't until you have lost your sense of psychological self and time that true happiness, fulfillment, and peace can come into your life. And honestly, there were times when I was in prison where I was so happy because of these things, because I did all this. And when I found peace with meditation and releasing the ego and becoming present in the moment, this is when all this stuff came. Finally, like my whole life searching, trying to find happiness, fulfillment, and peace. And I was trying to find it in all the wrong places my entire life until I located it outside of my ego, outside of the past, outside of the future. It was all in the present moment that I found happiness, fulfillment, and peace. And I go back to this every day. In the enlightened state, your sense of self is no longer based on your personal history, but on the timeless being. It is derived from the essence of who you are, beyond name, beyond your name, and form, beyond your form, your human form, and your name, John Smith, Jane Smith. That's not who you are. Whatever your name is, that's not you. You are much deeper than that. You are all being. You are I am. You're not your ego. Your ego wants to tell you, yeah, you're John Smith or Jane Smith. So you have to do this, you have to do that. This is everything that you have to do in order to have this. You are not your mind. You are not who you think you are. You are not your brain. All right? So when we lose identification with our thoughts, So losing identification is the key. Losing identification with our thoughts, emotions, and stories, past events, we simultaneously lose our false self. So when you, and this is like a big part of knowing that you're living in a simulation. And this is kind of like what it does, you know, in essence. When you know that you're living in a simulation, you know that nothing is real. This is essentially what happened. It's derived from the essence of who you are beyond your name and form. All right. So when you lose identification with your thoughts, emotions, and stories, you simultaneously lose your false self of your world being real. And that you don't have to worry. You don't have to fear. You don't have to have anxiety. You don't have to hold all these traumatic events in the present from the past and keep recreating them. It doesn't matter. Let it go. And as you do that, you lose your false self. Your false self is convincing you that you should hold these, you know, these negative feelings towards people and yourself, harboring these bad feelings towards yourself and other people that have wronged you. And you're continuing to reactivate those things. And when you stay connected to your false self, your ego, when you're not connected to your ego, there's nothing there anymore. There's no traumatic events. There's nothing that happened to you in the past. The things that are limiting you now, none of those things are even real. None of them are real. And you release all that stuff, and you really get deeply connected with the present moment and who you want to become. And the things that you want to do in life, to grow in life. What do you want to do? And that should really be something that you think about in the present moment. Becoming that and realizing that you can reinvent yourself now and think of who you want to be, and then become that now while you're present. And when you master that ability to become more present, you wake up. Being present, you're waking up within the dream. Okay, because all of this is just a dream, and you're waking up inside of it by becoming more present. You're no longer a sleepwalker. Now you can actively do whatever you want in your world because you're present and you're awake, and you're not just being controlled through the law of thought transmission and your false self, your ego, because that's what connects you to everything. That's what connects you. That's how you lose a lot of the manifestation power, is by connecting yourself with your ego and your false self. Because your highest self is everything, is all consciousness, is in control of everything through your imagination. So disconnecting all of that is where true power comes. And it's not really even power. You shouldn't even view it as power. It's just your true self. What remains is a sense, okay, so when we lose identification with our thoughts, emotions, and stories, we simultaneously lose our false self. What remains is a sense of I am that needs nothing from the outside to feel complete. It is who we were before we formed a mind-made identity. Who were you before you formed a mind-made identity? This is the joy of being, our deepest reality. Lonnie M., member for 7 months. Thank you. Wow, congratulations. Amazing. Thank you. All right, so what remains is a sense of I am that needs nothing from the outside. And I've hit on this before with just manifestation and understanding this. The language here is a little bit different, but it still means the same, and it could assist you in figuring this stuff out. What remains is a sense of I am, your true self, that needs nothing from the outside to feel complete. Everything's within your own mind. So why would you need anything outside of you to feel complete? It is who we were before we formed a mind-made identity. This is the joy of being, our deepest reality. Right here. Exodus 3:14. I am that I am. I am that I am. Lesson number 3. The egoic mind understanding unconscious behavior. The egoic mind is part of your mind that creates a false sense of self based on thoughts, beliefs, ideas, and perceptions from the past. It operates unconsciously by constantly projecting into an imagined future in order to find salvation, fulfillment, or a sense of completion. And this is so important because the sense of completion comes in the present moment. And people get attached to having something or having to have some material possession in order to feel complete, or to have a relationship or a significant other, or in order for them to feel complete. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have, relationships, or you shouldn't have material things, but you should find completion within yourself before you do any of that. Because none of that stuff's going to make you feel complete. You must find completion before you enter that world. Otherwise, you're just going to be chasing and chasing and chasing a mirage, an illusion of completeness that'll never complete you. It will never complete you. You must find peace, harmony, and completion in the present moment, now, without anything. Because because really everything is contained within you. There's nothing outside of you. It's just an illusion. It's an illusion that the simulation and the game has prepared for you. It's just orchestrated this simulation to where the appearance of material things are going to make you complete, or other things outside of you are going to make you complete, but they're never going to do that. It'll never happen. So find it within yourself first before you go after anything. When you're in that state, though, it's a totally different life. And that's essentially what I'm teaching here with the world as a simulation. Is that your focus, present moment awareness, knowing you're living in a simulation, you feel complete when you have all this stuff. Even if you don't actively visualize, or you're not actively doing all this stuff, you have shifted your state of consciousness into a state of completion, of wholeness, of fulfillment in the present moment. And you've reinvented yourself doing that without having to do anything else. You're gonna be attracting everything that mirrors your new self. Completion, abundance, gratitude, love, happiness. Your world has to mirror back to you the essence of your being. And when you find these things, and that's why I say the leaf exercise, the present moment awareness course, the reverse course, knowing you're living in a simulation and ingraining this into yourself with meditation, you'll find completion and wholeness within that itself. And it changes everything. You'll be like a beacon of abundance, because you're abundant already. Your abundance. Yeah, no drugs will give you completion. That's just a part of the illusion of the simulation, that when you train yourself to be chasing different things for temporary satisfaction and completion that's never there. There's nothing outside of you that's going to make you feel complete. I don't care if it's a Lamborghini Urus, or it's a Ferrari, or drugs, or alcohol, or honey buns, or Netflix. All that stuff is just training you to search for something outside of yourself. None of that stuff's ever going to make you happy. And when I went to prison, I realized that, because I found happiness there with nothing, like literally nothing, like nothing at all. Like you get like one pair of beat up shoes every year, if you're lucky. And you literally have nothing in prison. And I found happiness there. I found peace. I found contentment. I found completion. And I found happiness there with nothing. And when I got out of prison, I was complete. And that's how I manifested everything that come to me. Everything that I've created. Everything that I've manifested into my world is through my primary feeling state, my fundamental feeling of now being complete, whole, and having just that sense of fulfillment all the time inside myself, not needing anything outside of me, which I train myself to do. And that's what I want everyone to experience. You don't have to go to prison to find that. You don't have to go. You can do it by following the recipe that I've created here on the community. All right, so as Eckhart states, Eckhart Tolle, to the ego, the
One moment, guys. One moment, please.
We're right up against 1 p.m. now.
Yeah. This little one goes for, it finished at, it's 39 right now on the video, and it ends at 58, the explanation.
What did you say? He's frozen.
Yeah, he said that it ends at.
Yeah, you froze.
So any minutes more. You want to wrap it up, and then we discuss this on the chat, and maybe we can finish it by ourselves. Or
Okay.
I don't know how you feel with your activities, guys.
How much is left?
Like we are on 39, and it ends at 58, like 20 minutes.
Yeah, but
I don't mind another 20 minutes, but it's
Yeah,
up to everyone.
Let it carry on. You're recording anyway. People can listen to it later. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Right.
fine. Carry on.
All right, we'll keep it going.
your false self, the present moment doesn't exist because your ego is not real. All right, so it doesn't live in the present moment. Only the past and the future are considered important to the ego, and that's what hinders you. That's what controls you. That's what keeps you from being That's what keeps you from being complete and keeps you incomplete. All right, is your egoic mind, your false self, is what keeps you in the past, in the future, being like, oh my gosh, my parents did this to me, this person said this to me, or I did this and I really regret this. That's the ego. That's the ego holding on to those moods, holding on to those states of consciousness, and reactivating those and recreating that stuff into your future. The total reversal of the truth accounts for the fact that in the ego mode, the mind is so dysfunctional. It's constantly in the past or in the future, being incomplete. Your false self is incomplete. It's not complete. It needs something to keep it moving. And whatever it can latch onto in the past and in the future, that's what it does. It's always concerned with keeping the past alive, because without it, you have no identity. So the ego's trained for you to hold on to some identity of your current body, but you're not. That's not who you are. You are all being. You are I am. I am that I am. You are your highest self is you. But the only thing that keeps you disconnected from your highest self is right here. Your false self, your ego, is what keeps you alive within your own body, as thinking that you are limited. The ego keeps you limited from the power of manifestation of being, fulfilled and happy and complete. It's always concerned with keeping the past alive. And why is that? Because without it, you don't have an identity. And that's what the ego is. Identifying with you in your current small body, instead of releasing that and getting into flow state, connecting with your highest self. This is one or the other. The egoic mind seeks to uphold and strengthen this false sense of self, this phantom me, by consciously thinking and keeping your attention trapped in the past or the future. Some key patterns of the egoic mind uses to operate unconsciously. The egoic mind seeks to uphold and strengthen this false sense of self, this phantom me, by continuously thinking and keeping your attention trapped in the past or the future. Remember that. Your ego, your false self, continuously is keeping your attention trapped in the past or the future. And where do you make conscious impressions on new states of consciousness? In the present moment, not the future, not the past, because then you're what? Thinking of those events. When you're thinking from something, it's happening to you now. It's in the present moment, no ego involved, no false self involved. And that's why training your attention and present moment awareness, waking up to these ideas and catching yourself, catching the egoic mind from going in the past and the future, be like, no. We're staying right here in the present moment. I am complete now in the present moment. Right now. Held up right now in the present moment. Judgment and comparison. The ego judges, compares, and rates everything to give itself a sense of identity and self-worth. By making you better than or not as good as, it sustains this phantom self. Resistance. Okay, let me read that again. That's so important. Judgment and comparison. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of judgment and comparison? Your false self. The things that are hindering you from becoming complete and creating a new version of yourself. Judgment and comparison are limiting you. The ego judges, compares, and rates, because most people, listen, most people that I talk to with brand building and things like that, I'm not going to name any names or anything, but one of the first things that I ask them is, why won't you post every day? And I said, really, tell me. You have to be completely honest. And they say, because I don't like the way that I look, because they're judging themselves. They have to prepare themselves in a certain way every single time, and it takes hours, and they don't have the right lighting or the right cameras and that's why the fear from the ego, judging themselves, comparing themselves to other things. And that's you're thinking not thinking spiritually, you're thinking physically. Spiritually connects you with the source, your highest self. But the ego judges, compares, hinders you from doing the things that you want to do, from being successful, from being abundant. The ego does all of this stuff, and it slows you down. The fear, the judgmental, you're judging yourself. You're comparing yourself. You'd be like, oh, these people look so much better than me. They're doing this better. There's no way that I could do. That's the ego. And that's why they don't turn the camera on. That's why they don't start their own brand. That's why they don't do what they want to do, is because of the ego. Keeps all the fear and the comparisons and the judgments all locked up inside of them. They stay in this little dark cave their entire lives without breaking free from that and be like, you want to know what? I'm not going to judge. I love myself. I'm just going to be who I am, and I'm going to turn the camera, and I'm going to say what I want to say, and I want to help people. And that's what matters, is when you turn that away from yourself. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about the people that you're helping. And the ego wants to keep you constrained in this little dark cave, comparing and judging and being fearful, when you could be out helping people, assisting people. It's not about you. And the ego wants it to be about you. And it's not, because your highest self is everything. It's I am. connected to all things. The ego judges, compares, and rates everything to give itself a sense of identity and self-worth, but it's just destroying you. It keeps you limited. It keeps you in a dark cave inside of a room where you never break free from that and do the things that you truly want to do, being your highest self. All right, so by making you better than or not as good, it sustains this phantom self. And that's what keeps you limited. Resistance. The ego resists and runs away from the present moment. The ego does not like the present moment. Why? Because it can't identify with anything in the present moment. It has to be taking it on a roller coaster ride, comparing it with other things. It cannot live spiritually. The ego is not spiritual. The ego is based on the belief that the simulation is real. And it tries to keep that realness within you and keep you limited within the simulation itself. But it's an illusion. It's not real. And that's what keeps you limited. And the ego is what tries to keep all those reminders back. And that's what controls your thoughts, controls your mind. It keeps bringing you back. It is real. It is real. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, that happened. This happened. It is real. It's not an illusion. It's not a simulation. It is real. And because the ego cannot survive if it's not real. And when you lose the ego, that's when you connect to your highest self. Because the ego is the only thing that's constraining you or restricting you from becoming complete right now. Because what happens when you're complete and whole right now? The ego is not alive anymore. If you're complete, the ego has to find problems, has to create problems for you in order to feel alive. It has to find them in the past or find them in the future or predict bad things to happen to you and put you in those states of consciousness to destroy you. Because it doesn't care if it destroys you, as long as it's still the ego, as long as it can remain identified. Because once it loses identity, that's when you become spiritual. And that's when you connect to your highest self. So remember that understanding this stuff is vital, and it's another way to go about it. But it's all true. It's all really, the fundamental stuff that we have to understand going forward. All right, so resistance. The ego resists and runs away from the present moment where the truth of who you are exists. It uses distractions, denials, conflicts, and problems to draw your attention out of the now. Wow. And remember, you can't find this anywhere. This was all written specifically just the way that it is, and it's not in a book or anything. All right, so the ego resists and runs away from the present moment where the truth of who you are exists. It uses distractions, denials, conflicts, and problems to draw your attention out of the now. Seeking salvation in the future. The ego. The ego makes you look to the future for completion or salvation or fulfillment or happiness. Keep searching for it. It wants you to keep searching, thinking of your completion, not from it. Remember, Neville Goddard, from, thinking from the events as if they're happening to you now in the present moment is when you find completion in the present moment, fulfillment in the present moment, and that's what changes your future. That's what draws the things to you because you're feeling it now. In the present moment, the ego is no longer there. The ego keeps you thinking of these events. All right? The ego makes you look to the future for salvation, not completion in the present. So one day when this or that happens, this is what the ego's, makes you think, or it's thinking for you. One day when this or that happens, or I get this, or I get that, or I have this great relationship, or I have this Lamborghini, whatever, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be happy then. Okay, so this perpetuates discontent with the present and your inner state of being. And it puts you in a state where you're not complete ever. Because there's these things in the simulation. These material possessions are not going to make you happy. They're not going to make you complete when you get them. There's going to be something else. It's just a continuous thing of an illusion. It's like, you ever watch those old cartoons or, when they're in the desert you know, like Saudi Arabia, and they're looking far away, and they're in the desert, and they're thirsty, and they're trying to find water. They're dying of thirst, and then they look way in the distance, and it's just a mirage. Though they see water and palm trees, and they start running towards it, and the closer they get, the more it moves away from them. It keeps moving and moving and moving, and they never can get. And then when they finally get there, there's nothing there. Like, where's the water? I saw the water. It was here. It's not there. There's nothing contained outside of yourself. And that proves that you're living in a simulation too. All right. So by being aware of these unconscious patterns, you can kickstart, or you can start to step back and recognize when the egoic mind is controlling your thinking and behavior. And this is, you know, I had a really big awakening when I realized this stuff. Like when I read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. I think I read it like back in like 2014 or 15. I think it was 14 or 15. Might have been 14. 2014. It's like my first year in prison. And I read that, and this is what he started talking about. Recognizing when the egoic mind is controlling your thinking and behavior, and realizing your thoughts aren't you. That they're not really you. Your thoughts really aren't you. Okay? This silent observer brings presence to dissolve its unconscious hold. So become the silent observer. You're the observer of your thoughts. So you're actually in control of the ego. But when you identify with it and think that the ego is actually you, and you identify with that, then it has total control over you. You never, I had my entire life, I was identified with my ego. I thought that was me. I thought my brain was me. And I was connected to it. But once I read that book, The Power of Now, I realized that I could be the silent observer. I could go outside of myself and observe my thoughts and observe the ego and be like, wait a minute, I don't have to, this isn't me. The ego's not really me. I can actually change this. And these thoughts that I'm thinking about the past and all these different things, I don't have to think about those things. And then that was like a really huge awakening for me. I remember that when that finally like just kicked in. I can be the observer of my thoughts and change them as I like from the outside looking in, because that's what we are. We're really outside looking in. We're not the ego. All right. By being aware of these unconscious patterns, you can, I already read that. I'm going to read it again. You can start to step back and recognize when the egoic mind is controlling your thinking and behavior. This silent observer brings presence to dissolve its, and sometimes, and I wanted to read that again because just realizing this, just realizing that you are the observer of the ego and of your thoughts, and you're not your thoughts, and you're not your ego. This alone brings presence to dissolve the egoic hold that it has over you. Just by literally feeling that and knowing that, it actually dissolves the entire identity. The hold that the ego has over you, it starts to dissolve that simply by knowing this stuff. Because now you stepped out. As soon as you knew it, you stepped out. You stepped out of the ego. And you now observe it from the outside instead of identifying with it. And then it loses its control over you. There is a place for mind knowledge, and concept of time. It is in the practical realm of day-to-day living. However, when it takes over all aspects of your life, including your relationships with the human beings and with nature, it becomes a monstrous parasite that, if unchecked, may well up killing all life on the planet and finally itself by killing its host. And the ego does not care whether you live or die. It does not care. Its only one purpose is to be identified as something separate from other things. That's it. That's what the main purpose of the ego is. But you can use the ego for your benefit when you can control it, because strategically you can use it, use your own mind identified with the ego, and it can assist you with success as long as you don't become identified with it and are controlled by it. Once you go outside of it, you can use the ego. The ego can be very important to use under your control, but you cannot let it control you. You cannot identify with the ego being you. Your body is not you. All right? The body is actually part of the subconscious mind with the simulation. Anything that you can feel or experience within the simulation is part of the subconscious. I'm going to read that again because it's super important. There is a place for mind and mind knowledge and concept of time. It is in the practical realm of day-to-day living. However, when the ego takes over all aspects of your life, including your relationships. So basically he's saying when you learn to not identify with your ego, you can use it. It's important to be able to have an ego to a certain extent, to use it to your advantage, but you don't let it take over all aspects of your life and identify with it, including your relationships with other human beings and with nature, because I do feel it can be behooving or beneficial to be somewhat competitive. That can be fun to be competitive and different things. And so the ego assists you with those things, being competitive, growing, getting better and better and better, and growing and growing and growing. So you can use the ego for those types of things, but you never, don't let it take total control over you, because it doesn't care whether you live or die. The ego will destroy you if you let it. All right? And just like what he says here, including relationships with human beings and nature, it becomes a monstrous parasite that, if unchecked, may well end up killing all life on the planet, and finally itself by killing its host or killing you. It doesn't care. It doesn't understand all that stuff. All right, so we're going to save lesson 4 for next week.
All right, guys. That's a really good one.